Hey folks, today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag, or as our Canadian friends like to call it, the mid-year book freakout tag. Did I get that right? Sean? Big Al? Laura? Well, if I messed it up, I'm sorry about that. Ha! I was tagged to do this by Adam at Memento Mori and Claire at Claire Reads, so thank you both so much for tagging me in this, and I apologize for it being so late. But finally getting my life back together after the first week of July that just ended up being insanely busy. But anyway, on to the questions. The first question is the best book you've read in 2018 so far. And hands down, that goes to There There by Tommy Orange. I did mention this in a video that I did a couple of weeks ago, a currently reading I think it was, but I'm going to be putting up a review for this book this weekend, so if you guys are interested in hearing more about it, I won't talk too much here because I'm sure a lot of you have already heard the premise of this book, but like I said, I will be putting up a review for it this weekend, so if you're interested, keep an eye out for it. But excellent read. And question number 2 is best sequel you've read so far in 2018. I may have to defer this question because I haven't read any sequels this year. I'm not much of a sequel reader in general, but there are some first books and series that I've obtained this year that I haven't yet read. So I will get back to you guys at the end of the year. So question number 3 is new release you haven't read yet but want to. And there were a couple that were on my radar for the summer that I wanted to pick up. The first is Any Man by Amber Tamblyn. And that is about a serial rapist who is a female. And the second book is Social Creatures, and I'm blanking on the author's name, but I'll put it down here somewhere. And it's sort of like an obsessive friendship story that takes place in New York amongst socialites, and yeah, it just feels like one of those like dessert reads that you can just take to the pool and relax and read, kind of a fast-paced, somewhat exciting book, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. Question number 4 is most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and there's a book that I've been investigating called Lake Success by an author named Gary Shteyngart. It comes out on September the 4th and is about a wealthy New York family that is falling apart at the seams. The husband is having an investigation conducted at work that could potentially end his career and lose his company a ton of money. The wife, Seema, is also kind of dealing with her own demons, and the both of them are also trying to raise an autistic son. And so it's just supposed to be one of these like kind of wealthy family falling apart type of novels, but done with a lot of humor and wit. So it just looked interesting. It looked like something, I love stories about like just kind of imperfect families and the dynamics that occur between family members, but if it can be told with some humor and some sharp wit, then that's even better. So Lake Success coming out on September 4th. Question number 5 is the biggest disappointment this year, and without hesitation, hands down, it is The Mars Room by Rachel Kushner. Steve Donoghue had talked about this book either in this tag that he did or a previous discussion, and he called this book heavy-handed, which I couldn't agree with more. There is a childish desperation to this book to prove how edgy and how hard and how shocking it can be, and it just fell on all fronts. For all of the concentration of shock and edginess, it is surprisingly impotent. Some of the things that I encountered in this book were just unbelievable. Transitional gems such as, and then it was suddenly Easter for no reason.
Excuse me, what?
And the whole last chapter was just a disaster. There was no wrap-up, there was no resolution, there was no resolve. And not that things have to wrap up beautifully in some nice package at the end of the book, but there should at least be some conclusion, some feeling of finality. And it wasn't. It felt like a completely different story. In fact, it read like something she just ripped out of her daily morning pages and committed it to her novel. And shame on me, because I got duped into getting the audiobook because it had original music by Kim Gordon. And that just goes to show what following your hipster tendencies will do for you. Question number 6 is the biggest surprise so far this year, and that will go to Stephen Florida by Gabe Habash. Bruno had mentioned this in one of his tags as well. And it really is just this wild card of a book. The style is strange, it's clipped, it's abrupt, it's a bit disjointed, yet Habash has drum-tight control over this narrative. And the stamina of this style of writing that was present throughout this book was really an accomplishment and something very impressive. Now, this is not a book that I would recommend to a lot of people. I think that if you don't have the constitution for strange styles of storytelling, or if maybe psychological endeavors are not really your thing, not psychological thrillers, like really slow burn investigations into semi-obsessive and compulsive behavior is really the best way that I can explain it, then I think you would enjoy this book. And Stephen Florida is just, he's a fascinating, fascinating character. So hats off to Gabe Habash. That's a really, really special book. Question number 7 is favorite new author. And I think Tommy Orange is one of my favorite new authors now. I'm really excited to see more of his work. Also, Kayla Ray Whitaker, who was also another debut author that I read this year. Her book came out last year in 2017, The Animators. So it's been kind of a toss-up, and both authors who I'm very much looking forward to seeing more work from. Question number 8 is newest fictional crush. Now, I can't say that I've developed a crush on any characters, but there are some that I have encountered whom I very deeply admire, if we can call that a crush. And that is Selena de Jong from Edna Ferber's So Big, and Opal Viola Victoria Bearshield from There There. Just these really cool, badass, intact female characters that were a pleasure to spend time with. Newest favorite character. I don't know that I have one just yet, but I am reading, just started reading A Single Man by Christopher Isherwood, and I'm really enjoying the character of George, so I'll have to see if he ends up being one of my favorite characters or not. Next question is book that made you cry. So There There had me in tears. I don't think I have cried like that after reading a book in a very long time. It hit some things with me. And also the Sick Bag Song by Nick Cave. That guy's writing, there's certain things that he wrote about that really, like, it was one of those sorts of passages that you encounter where you just go, but yeah, really, really fantastic, both of those books. Book that made you happy. So this I'm going with Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury, and this book is just kind of occupying a little special place in my heart. It was such a touching read, and the stories, I think really what kind of made me so happy was just seeing how these relationships between elderly people and young people shook out, and how old people looking back at their histories and their stories were in disbelief that they were ever young, and young people looking at older people's histories and past, never thinking that they're ever going to be old. And there was just something really striking about that, and it was just such a pleasure. It was such a pleasure to read a story like that, so highly recommend if you guys haven't read it. Favorite book to film adaptation? This question I might have to defer as well. So I'm participating in Memento Mori Book to Film Club, and there's some really, really good films lined up this year, so I'll have to get back to people on that. So question number 13 is favorite review you've written or favorite video that you've made. And I did talk about this a little bit in a previous tag, but it is the Future Classics book tag. And the reason for that being was I had a lot of trepidation about doing it in the first place. And then once I actually sat down to do it, it ended up being a lot more labor intensive than I thought it would be. So all around, just a really challenging video to do, but I'm really happy that I did it. Question number 14 is the most beautiful book you bought or received this year. And there are two that I want to tell you guys about. One is A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. I did mention this in a previous haul video at the beginning of the year, but this is the Folio Society edition and features artwork by an artist named Ben Jones. So the cover is just really lovely, and it has just this reflective copper that if you catch it in the right light, it gets really cool looking. But also the book itself just has this beautiful reptilian texture to it on the front and the back. And that's the spine. The spine has the same copper reflection also. So that's really cool. And then the second one is Galaxy, the Penguin Galaxy edition of Dune by Frank Herbert. So just so beautiful. I would like to get to read this at some point. I have no idea when I'm gonna pick this up. Look at that. I love this so much. But I couldn't, it was too good to pass up. It was so beautiful. And this was all designed by Alex Trochut, I think is how you pronounce his last name. But he did all the artwork for the Penguin Galaxy editions, the covers. So I would like to get them all at some point because they have the Left Hand of Darkness that's in there as well, which would be a really beautiful copy to own. Question number 15 is what books do you need to read by the end of the year? So I have the Book to Film Club books. I have whatever books come up for the real life book clubs that I belong to. The Book of the Month Club subscription that I ended up canceling, but still have some books from them that I need to get through as well. And then, I think a buddy read that I have scheduled for the end of this month. And then other than that, I'm just going to try to pepper in some personal reads here and there, but I think that's pretty much it. So thank you so much, Adam and Claire, for tagging me in this. And if you are watching this and you have not done this tag and you would like to do this tag and you're waiting for someone to tag you, consider yourself tagged by me. But outside of that, I think that's all I've got for you guys today. I hope you have a really wonderful weekend, and I will see you guys very soon. Take care. Bye.